was born and raised in Harlem on Sugar Hill, where life is so sweet.
Hmm.
And so we were in the park, and they had Thunderbird.
Old school Thunderbird.
Uh, You know, to me, it tastes like lemonade. And so I was just like, this is like, okay, whatever. And I had and I got drunk. And it was in the afternoon, and my friends like brought me home, and in true alcoholic fashion, which I didn't know at the time,
Hmm.
grandmother opened the door and looked and said, "What's wrong with you?" And I said, "I have the flu, Grandma." So, immediately that alcohol, I have the flu, you know.
Hmm.
And so for me, it was always alcohol. Although at a certain point, uh, but that was more when I got to Los Angeles. I was introduced to, cocaine, and that's
Uh-huh.
another thing. I'm a traditionalist. All that whole thing, blah blah blah. When and I'm in fact I'm a GSR again. I became a
Hmm.
GSR again, and so
Hmm.
I was a GSR, having a traditions chair, putting on the
Hmm.
traditions day, and all of
Hmm.
that kind of stuff. And I go back, I call it the mothership, which is GSO office in New York when I go back to New York.
Right.
Anyways, preface this by saying a lot of times I'll hear people talk about outside issues, and
Hmm.
outside issues, as this traditionalist, there may be somebody else who'll say something else, because
Right.
usually people are saying something else, but this is
Uh-huh.
talking and this is my time. So for
Yeah.
me,
That's right.
side issue has to do with, and we have it in our preamble, uh,
Hmm.
about religion, organized religion, and politics.
Politics. That's right.
Creations. If in fact you are telling your story, and your
Hmm.
story has, drugs in it,
Hmm.
and you're telling your story, tell
Right.
your story. I
Right.
get annoyed when somebody's telling their story and then they said, "And I had an outside issue," and I said, "What the hell? What, you became a Buddhist? What the hell are you talking about?"
You
Um
were you were working on somebody's campaign trail. Is that what you're
it,
talking? No,
it,
I hear what you're saying. And
exactly.
believe me, I've researched.
and
When it
and
comes,
that,
go ahead.
and that's my deal.
Uh-huh.
So, but when I'm telling my story, cocaine came in. But the thing that cocaine did for me
Hmm.
was it helped me to drink more. I could like ingest more alcohol
You go all night
uh,
long.
when I could, take some cocaine up my nose.
Right.
But the thing is that in New York, because everyone in theater and everyone, going out to drink, to have cocktails, it was all, fabulous.
Right.
I thought
That's
it
what I was going to ask you. I mean, obviously, working in entertainment, like, was everybody just doing it? Was everyone drinking
well,
and
there were a lot of people were drinking and all of that kind of stuff, but but I never really was like being judged. I wasn't judging it. I was too busy doing it.
yeah,
You
you're partaking.
I was, and so starring on Broadway, being nominated for a Tony Award and winning every major award on Broadway that season, I
Hmm.
I was being wined and dined, and the flavor of the moment, and so
Right.
of course there was all of that stuff,
Hmm.
but it was all around alcohol. Alcohol was, and all of the creative and wonderful biographies that I read about creative and smart and witty people,
Hmm.
they were drunks at the end of the day. So to
Right.
me, it was like, okay, but I didn't think of myself as a drunk. When
Right.
I got to California, that was
Hmm.
whole other different a whole other different reality for me. And then the cocaine got into it, and what happened was I was doing a television series, and a producer on the series, was having a birthday,
Hmm.
and I didn't, so what did I do? I sent her this beautiful basket of like wine.
Right.
And so and so she said to me, she called me to her office, and she said, thank you, but it's not that kind of birthday. And I didn't know what it meant. And
It was a sobriety birthday.
yeah, but I didn't know.
You didn't know.
I didn't know. And so she said, but I can pass this wine on to some other people. And then I was living
Right.
in Laguna, and I would go and work out at this exercise place, Zahavas, and I'd show
Mhm.
up with a hangover or whatever. And there was
Mhm.
a woman there, several women there who at the time I didn't know what they were in the program, but I would talk to them. And
Right.
Muriel Zink, Muriel Zink, and I would always gravitate to her.
This was in Los Angeles or Orange County?
Orange County. I moved. I came to LA, but then I married the first of the English husbands,
Uh-huh.
and he became food and beverage manager of the Hotel
Mhm.
Laguna, and that's how I got to Laguna.
Okay.
That's
So
how I got to Laguna.
so let me ask you. Okay, so in looking at this list of all the stuff you've worked on, the things that are familiar to my eyes, because I'm 49 years old. So the stuff that I told you this earlier, I grew up on Barney Miller. I grew up on Police Story. I grew up on Police Woman. I
Yeah,
love What's Happening. I love What's Happening. The Love Boat was we never missed a Love Boat every week. All in the Family, classic television show. I love that show. And then
yeah.
I see the Trapper, John M.D. Cagney, and Lacey Hill, Street Blues. These are monumental shows. These were great shows. So I want to ask you, like, out of all these shows that you
Good
were
for my.
on, what's that?
Don't I look good for my age?
Yeah, I was going to tell you, you're a very beautiful woman. Like seriously, and I
That's
think
sobriety too.
when you say that one of the first Englishmen, I mean, have you dated? Were you married to a few Englishmen?
Well, my first husband, John, yeah, he was from England, and we moved here, and then we got divorced in,
Mhm.
I guess, 91. And I
Right.
thought, oh, I'd move back to LA or whatever, or go back to
Yeah.
New York. And I realized, and I was sober then, and
Uh-huh.
I realized that my support group, everything was in Laguna.
Uh-huh.
So then I stayed in Laguna and would just, commute back and forth
Well,
to
I want to ask you this: like, where did you get sober? What were you in L.A. or Orange County?
Laguna. I got
Laguna.
sober in Laguna Beach, and
And that was what year?
1988. And
And why Laguna? Because you had moved down to Laguna with the
yeah,
husband.
living in Laguna. I was
Hmm.
living in Laguna. And the thing is that, as I said before, I would see these women while I was working out as a Havas, and one was Muriel Zink and Bonnie, and just a whole bunch of ladies, and I would gravitate to them. I
Right.
why I was gravitating to them more was revealed to me later on, but
Hmm.
I would come in on Saturday morning with a hangover or whatever, and da da da, and I'd walk over to Muriel, and she'd be like, "Oh, how are you, dear?" I said, "Oh gosh, I don't even remember what happened, but I'm here." And she said, "Oh, you had a blackout, dear." And I was like, I didn't know what that was. I didn't like the sound of it. And then she said, "I'm saving a seat for you." And I was like, I don't know what she means. I don't like the sound of it. I'm going to work out on the other side of the room. And
Mm.
so what happened was the AIDS quilt was coming to LA.
Hmm.
And I was invited to perform at um, at the eight. No, this was before the AIDS quilt. Yeah, no, it was the AIDS quilt. I was asked to perform at the Dorothy Chandler Pavilion,
Hmm.
and it was an AIDS benefit at the Dorothy Chandler Pavilion, and I was asked to perform,
Hmm.
and I felt, now here are people we're here because of to support people with AIDS. There were people with AIDS that were there. It
Hmm.
was it was not a there were people there with problems. It was horrible,
Hmm.
but I felt that they weren't treating me correctly. And that was that Saturday night, and I come back to Laguna from doing this thing at the Dorothy Chandler Pavilion,
Hmm.
and that Sunday I decide I'm going to drink at them. I'm going to drink at them because they really didn't treat me well.
Right.
And so, and in the meantime, my cat, you know, and I still have dogs and cats. My cat, I couldn't find my cat, right? And so I have on this tatty bathrobe,
Hmm.
and I'm wandering around Bluebird Canyon drunk at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Thank God I couldn't find my car keys because I was going to get in my car to look for my cat. And I'm
Hmm.
wandering around the streets of Bluebird looking for my cat in this ratty tatty bathrobe at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And so somehow I got up back in the house and passed out, and I wake up and the cat and my dog are looking down at me in disgust. And when your animals look at you in disgust, you know you're bad. And meanwhile, the husband at that time, he I don't know where he was. I found out later, but anyway, then again, I went passed out, woke up, the phone was ringing, and it was that producer who I had said got the thing of wine for. And meanwhile, she was always trying to 12-step me because I didn't know, in a blackout or whatever. I called her in the morning with too much cocaine and too much alcohol to tell her to rewrite the script. It was a thing we called the black cord fever. And so I'm talking to her like, you know, this was when a few years before when I'm doing the series. And then I had no idea I did that. And so she was always had her eyes on me. Anyway, a few years later, I'm coming to, this is 1988. The phone rings. I say, hello, it's her. It's that producer.
Right.
And she says, you know, I was just wondering, how are you doing? And what came out of my mouth was, I am an alcoholic. I need to go. And I said where I needed to go, which was a 12-step place. And
So you didn't go to treatment
no,
ever.
nope. I and
So you just happen to be somewhere in Laguna and see this lady, Muriel Zink, and she noticed you, and so she kind of opened the doors for you to a 12-step
well,
community.
well, and not so much. She didn't say to me. She said, "I'm saving a seat for you."
Right.
She didn't go into what that seat was or
Right. Right.
this other woman.
She made you wonder, though.
The well, it made me want to get away from her. But the producer, the producer from LA who called me on the phone,
Uh-huh.
she's the one who I said those words to.
Right.
And she said, well, this is what you have to do. Because at one point, before I actually showed up, I had called,
Mhm.
you know, a central office place
Ah.
and talked to somebody on the phone, maybe about a year before, and talked to someone on the phone. And she said, meet me at such and such. And I didn't. I didn't because I felt okay the next day. But
Right.
this was different. And so I found out that there was a place in Laguna where I lived in a canyon,
Mhm.
and it was a small little dinky place because it was
Mhm.
1980. And I found and I walked in there. I walked in there, and I thought, it's come to this. This is you. Are you kidding me?
Why? What was it about that place that made you think that? How was it? Were people smoking cigarettes, and
Oh,
was there a
well,
lot of people there?
that was the kind of beauty of it, because it reminded me,
Was it like a bar with no alcohol?
yeah, at a bar in the East Village in New York. It was
Mhm.
dirty, it was dank, it was dark,
Right.
and I loved it. You know, I loved that place
Yeah,
really.
yeah.
And you
That,
walk,
that's you're talking about the old Canyon Club,
yes,
right? Yes.
yes, that's where it happened for me.
Right.
And I came in there, and and this was a Monday on the, and a Monday when I talked to the woman on the phone.
Mhm.
I knew someone who would go to the old Canyon Club, and I
Mhm.
called this person, and he could never stay sober.
Right.
And so his deal was, oh yeah, he only knew that there was a place to go on a Wednesday.
Right.
And so from the Monday, he said, I'll go with you on the Wednesday. So that Monday, I had nothing to drink. The Tuesday, I had nothing to drink. The Wednesday, I go to pick this person up to take me to the Canyon Club,
Uh-huh.
and they are in their driveway in Laguna drunk.
Mm.
And they're like, I can't go. And so I looked at them, and I have to say, which, later on, this was like foreshadowing of things that happened later on. I kicked this person. And said, and yelled, and he was just out of it. So I got in my car and I went there by myself. And I walked in,
Mhm.
and it was this bar, the coffee bar, but it would look like a proper bar.
Mhm.
Now, an old dirty bar that I liked from the East Village in New York.
Mhm.
Then you walked into a little dank room, and there was a fish tank, which they still have a fish tank, but this was an old fish tank. I mean, just dark place.
Right.
And there were a couple of people that I actually knew,
Right.
And this person got me a book, and this other person told me that there was going to be like a big meeting that they called Gucci or something, uh,
Mhm.
at the women's club.
Which
And
is still which was
yes,
there for many years. That was one of the from my understanding, it's one of the oldest. I
yes.
think it's
So anyway,
73 years
yeah,
old,
so
that meeting.
anyway, this they said there was going to be a meeting there tonight.
Mhm.
And so at 8 o'clock, so I showed up there, and there was Muriel. And there was some other women that I knew from that dance club, that exercise. So I walked up to Muriel and I said, well, you said you were saving a seat for me. And she says, yes, dear. And I sat next to her. And that was the beginning of the journey.
Mm.
And I'm not going to say it's been, when I came in up there, my date of coming in there has remained my date of coming in there.
So you stayed sober after all that, huh?
Oh, yeah.
No more putting your foot in the water.
No, no. I always love when people say they're testing the waters.
Yeah.
An alcoholic drink, they never test the water.
They just go hard. They
I,
just drink. They drink.
true, true. Tell the truth. Because even when he said, well, I have to go out and test the waters again. Bullshit. You didn't test any water. Even that's a lie. Get real. Get even real with what you
Yeah.
went out and tested,
Yeah.
you know?
You didn't test
And
the waters.
so,
You got sauced. You got drunk.
exactly.
Right.
So, no, I did. And then that marriage that I was in, that ended maybe 2 years into my sobriety.
Mm-hmm.
But and then I married somebody else. I was 10 years sober, and I married this other person who was a practicing alcoholic and drug addict, who was a surfer, this blonde surfer. Meanwhile, I don't swim, and there I am with this crazy person. But I was, because the thing is, I that was the closest I came to drinking. Not because of the person. But and I tell this story because, and I'm not going to say the people's names because you probably know a couple of these people.
I'm sure.
But the that relationship with that, you don't know the husband person, but that relationship with that practicing alcoholic and drug addict, I thought, well, I'm in recovery, I can handle it. I can handle it. I can handle it. Well, the thing is, even if I didn't pick up, I still have the disease, and the disease always wins.
Mm-hmm.
So what, I was in this relationship and we're fighting, I mean, it is absolutely horrific. It was horrific. I didn't drink, I didn't use, but it was toxic. And the thing is I'm a fighter. I'm a
Mm-hmm.
fighter. And so that it was a horrible mix. And what happened was, one night I went in, and this was at the new Canyon Club,
Mm-hmm.
which is like a resort compared to the old
Oh
one.
yeah, it's like the elite.
Oh gosh.
Club.
In fact, I have a little plaque near the door because, a little tile, because
Yes, I've seen all the tiles.
now. Anyway, so they let me go back. It's my story, so I can remember it.
That's right.
Yeah, it's my story. So anyway, it was Thursday night, and they used to have a romper room.
Yes.
And I went to this romper room thing.
Yep.
And there was a woman there, and you know who she is. She was really trying. She had gone out. She had a little bit of time, but had gone out, and she was struggling. She was struggling. So I gave her my phone number. And so that was a Thursday. On the Sunday, I had one more fight, one more horrible time with this man that I was married to.
Mm-hmm.
And he had alcohol in my house.
Mm-hmm.
And we had, I mean, it was ugly. It was a ugly thing. And he storms out, and I'm there, and I see this bottle of wine. And so I take it down, I get a glass, I pour it. It's almost to my lips, and the phone rings. So it's that moment. Should I take that drink, or should I answer the phone? I answered the phone.
Good.
And it was that woman saying, I want to die. I can't stay sober. And here I was, a little over 10 years sober, about to chuck it all away. And I'm talking to her, and she stayed sober that day, and so did I. And I always tell her that story because, and now she has 20 something years.
Mm-hmm.
But that was, and then that was that moment. And
Right. Jonelle, like a lot of people, there's the people that you talk about back then. There's a lot of them that obviously drifted off. Some relapsed, some moved away from that area. I know I got sober at the newer Canyon Club,
yes.
and so the resort. That's right. But I know that often I would sit in the rooms and hear people talk about being in the No Matter What Club. And today your topic is the No Matter What Club, no matter what, right? And so I love and I admire when I see someone in the recovery process that's been around for a while, when they use those words, when they say that, they don't use it loosely. They use it like they mean it, like their life depends on it. And so
Yes.
So, I mean, it's not just something that you just throw out there to sound cute.
No.
This is about through thick and thin, whatever
Yeah.
happens, through
Yeah.
grief,
Yeah.
through marriage losses, through marriage gains, through whatever, it
Yeah.
doesn't matter. Celebratory, through death, through
Yes.
a pandemic, even, like where everything's shut down. We
Yeah.
don't do this no matter what. But I believe that there's a lot that goes into becoming that type of person, because
Well,
there's a lot of people that'll still drink, because you as well as I know, we've seen people with 20 and 30 years of
yeah.
sobriety
So I
that
was
still drink.
someone just told me that someone who's 32 years sober just drank.
Yeah.
And for me, and for me, the thing is that, and yeah, I use no matter what really strongly right now, because on November 30th, 2020, my husband, my partner, my love, he was sober
Right.
for 17 years. He was killed tragically. He was driving the truck coming back home. It
Mhm.
flipped over and he smashed against the wall and he was killed instantly.
Mhm.
Uh,
I know it was a really hard time for you. I saw
well,
you.
it's and so that's when that kind of, that there was something that was said to me in early sobriety, which I did not understand until, after I've been around for a while, which is unconditional sobriety.
Mhm.
Keep your problems and your programs separate. And as smart as you get about your disease, that's how much smarter your disease gets about you, because it's cunning, it's baffling, it's powerful, it's patient. The pilot light is always on. And because I will hear people say, well, I was working a good program and then I wasn't and I drank. And to me, that's bullshit. That's
Mhm.
bullshit. There is no good program. There is no bad program. It's just the program. And
Mhm.
the thing is, I believe, and this is just me, that we have that. See, God got me to that particular 12-step program.
Mhm.
And that 12-step program got me to a God of my understanding.
Right.
And it doesn't necessarily have to be anyone else's. And
Right.
that's okay.
Mhm.
That's okay. Where I'm concerned, I believe that God gives me free will. So, and if I believe that God will love me. God loved me when I was drunk. God loves me when I'm sober. I cannot blame God
Right.
for that. What I can do is continue to do the things that I did in the beginning.
Mhm.
And most of all, to not drink or use, because it's not saying that I'm a good person, I'm a bad person.
Mhm.
I'm a human person. At
Right.
13 years sober, I punched a woman out in one of those rooms because she irritated me, she upset me, all that kind of stuff. So I had to make an amends to the room where I punched. I had to make an amends to the facility where the room was. And then I had to make an amends to her, all of which I did not want to do. And that's another thing.
Right.
I am and after. There's a saying that our adventures before and after. I have had a lot of and after adventures.
Mhm.
However, the thing is for me is that if I waited to do something when I felt like I
Mhm.
was going to do it, I'd I'd still probably still be in New York and Harlem, sitting
Mhm.
on the park.
Right.
My thing, you bring the body and the mind will follow.
That's
And
right.
sometimes the mind, it'll take a year, 2, 3 for the mind to follow. But
Mhm.
because the universe does not hear the word. When I say the universe hears the word, but your actions
Mhm.
define who and what you do. You
Mhm.
know, the right action motivates the thinking,
Right. Right.
especially when it comes to this particular program we're talking about.
And you know what I really love today is this is okay. So I always have a deep, immense respect for the ones that came before me, the ones like you who paved the way. You are the elder stateswoman, right? Uh, and the reason I say is today we didn't talk at all about what particular program that is. We kept it at 12 steps. And usually, some of my friends who are also in 12-step programs, we talk about podcasts and how we have to present ourselves. And we don't go up there and profess that, like, I'm a member of blank, blank, anonymous, but instead, publicly speaking, we don't have to do that. However, I do believe that we got to let people know that there's hope, and when we demonstrate through our own actions and being sober people, and that we become the people who were like the people that helped us when we were out there. I believe God placed certain angels in your path or in my path that had lived a certain lifestyle and then had transformed and changed their lifestyles, and somehow we came into their path, and they let us know, we'll save a seat for you, right?
But the thing that's most important that I've learned more than anything is that when I was 20 years sober, I had to be in New York. So, and yeah, I mean, I connect with people who are, involved in the same
out there.
Yeah, because it's all over the world and
Yeah.
they're great. However, on my 20th birthday, I was in New York. So there was no one who I knew. I was so, and my family, they don't care. And that was the first time that really hammered home to me that my sobriety, my recovery is for me. My sobriety, my recovery is not about getting balloons, is not about getting, at a girls. I mean, because I can remember, because the two things that I believe, always have to remain in check are the ego and, are the ego and are the ego. And so, because I would be sitting in rooms and I'd see someone take a cake and I may not know them that well, but I've talked to them and I'm like, are they going to say my name? And it's like those kinds of things where we're beginning to like be so amazing to me. But when I was in New York and nobody was calling, even from out here, maybe a couple of people, they knew I was here. So it wasn't like they were on the computer, like, well, and that was the beginning of me knowing my sobriety has to be for me. It's not about someone making it a big party, making it a big, we'll take a cruise, making it about, all these people coming around, worshiping and doing all that kind of bullshit.
Yeah.
And so that was like at 20. At 30, it became a whole other thing. And I became the coffee person at my meeting and to set up chairs. And somebody who said to me, that's a kind of commitment you give to people who are newer in our whatever. And I said, you know what? You give those commitments to people who are newer because you want them to show up. Well, sometimes people who have a lot of time need to be able to show up
That's
too.
right.
And
That's
so
right.
I took on that commitment to get there early, make the coffee, set up the chairs, and not be, because the last thing, and I feel so strongly about this, is that our ego can get us. It's like, oh, I sponsor blah, blah, blah. Or, oh, so and so and so. Or, oh, so and so, I want to be just like you. That's all bloody ego. And that is
not good.
Not even remotely good.
No, that's not what we do.
Remotely good. And so now at 33, and but at 30, that's when I started counting the days again. Because if I know how many days, just like when somebody is new, they count the days. They count the days. And never forget your days. Because if I forget my days, I'll forget a lot of things. If I see I got, as I said today, 12,064 days invested in this thing, am I going to mess that up? Because God gives me free will. So if it gets messed up, I am choosing to mess it up.
Right.
And yes, I can do the blame game, and another thing I hate, and I just not hate, but pisses me off, is when I hear people say, oh, it's my alcoholic mind. No, it's your mind. It's your mind. Don't be using your alcoholism and my alcoholic mind to as an excuse for your nutso behavior. I can't do that. Right. I got nutso behavior.
Right.
And yeah, I'm an alcoholic, but I'm not going to blame it on my alcoholic mind.
Well, you got it. This has been special today. I've been wanting to hear you. I appreciate you being who you are. You are a pillar in our community. I love the No Matter What Club. I have a lot of respect for the No Matter What Club. You've done the work. You help a lot of people. I hope I see you soon again in person, because if I do see you, I'm going to see if you let me give you a hug, because before you didn't let people give you hugs.
No, and when people are going on about the pandemic and they're like, oh, people can't, I want to hug people, and I'm thinking,
just back up.
No, we can do that, and whoa, and all That's of right. that stuff, or woohoo! But
no hugs.
No.
Well, I hope I see you soon. I'm down in Laguna every once in a while, and I know you love that city so much, and I love that city so much. It was so good.
There,
Huh?
You're in Lala, aren't you?
Sometimes in LA and sometimes down there.
Okay. Yeah. Sometimes I'm down here and sometimes I'm up there. So there you go.
I hope to see you soon. I love you very much, Jonelle. Thank you for sharing about.
Are you healthy? Are you good?
Oh, I'm healthy. I'm real good. Oh yeah, I'm good.
I'm so glad to hear that.
Cancer free. You keep on doing what you're doing, and I'll talk to you soon. Thank you for coming to the corner.
So much. Bye.
Bye.